So this video, we're going to put it into practice. Everything we've been learning so far about types of reactions, and now we're going to predict products and also practice balancing equations. So I have 5 different reactions, just the reactant side. So we don't have the products for all of them yet, okay? We're going to actually figure that out ourselves. So I have the 5 different types here, and we're just going to do this together. So I have SiI4 plus Mg. So we're going to try and look and think of the list that we made before. So our options are single replacement, combustion, double replacement, decomposition, and synthesis. Those are the 5 that we have. So what category does this fall under? Okay, so here I have 2 elements together. So I have a compound here, and then I have something single by itself. So what could this be? So I have a compound and a singular element. What could it be? I'm going to give you time to think about it. And pause the video if you need more time. Okay, so if I think about it, this is sort of like AX plus B, right? So AX plus B, that's single replacement. Okay, so step 1 to predicting products is first you have to identify what type of reaction you're working with. So this is single replacement. So if I'm just going to put SR on top for single replacement. If it's single replacement, what happens, right? Similar elements will replace each other. So I have a metal and a non-metal, and I have a metal. So the metal will replace the other metal. So I end up with Mg I2, remember we get that by the crisscross method, plus Si, okay? And this is where we balance the equations again, right? So I need 4 iodines. I only have 2 here, so I'll need to have 2 there. And now I have 2 magnesium, so I need to make sure I have 2 on that side. So I have 1 silicone, 4 iodine, and then 2 magnesium. So I'm all set, okay? So let's try the next one. So 2 aluminum and 3 iodine. Okay, so 2 aluminum and 3 iodine. What do I end up with? First, step 1, identify the type of reaction. So what type of reaction will this be? So I have aluminum and iodine, which are 2 elements. So I have 2 elements. What's going to happen when I start with 2 elements? They're going to combine, right? So when you have 2 elements combining to form a new product, that's called synthesis. So I'm just going to put an S for synthesis, okay? So I have synthesis. So what's going to happen? They're going to come together, and I'll end up with Al, right? I3, crisscross method. But I have to make sure that everything is balanced. So I need to have 6 iodine and 2 aluminum. So I do that by just putting a 2 here. So now I have 2 times 3 is 6 and 2 aluminum. Okay? So that's a synthesis reaction. Next one. So I have copper chloride and potassium hydroxide. So I have 2 compounds, okay? What do we do when we start with 2 compounds? What type of reaction is it? That's what we need to figure out first. Step 1 is type of reaction. So what type of reaction is this? If I'm starting with 2 compounds. Decomposition reaction, okay? So I'm gonna put DR for decomposition reaction. So now that I've identified it, I can go back to my notes if I have to. What do they do? This one's the wife swap, okay? So the 2 similar elements will swap, usually metals, okay? So we're gonna have the 2 metals swapping partners. So my potassium, I'm gonna just draw an arrow, right? These 2 are gonna switch places. So let's say potassium chloride, crisscross method. That's why the 2 is gonna just be 1 now because of crisscross method. And then we have copper hydroxide. And here you see that this copper has a 2 charge, right? That goes back up. This is review, so if you have to review that, go ahead. So I know that this will end up being 2, okay? And I need to make sure everything is balanced. So I know here I have 2 hydroxide, so I have to go back here and make sure I have 2 hydroxide. But now I have 2 potassiums, so I have to go here and make sure I have 2 potassiums. And that actually balances my chlorine really nicely. Okay, so now that we're balanced, it's all set. Now we can move on. So all I have here is NH3. So I just have 1 compound. What do you do when you just start with 1 compound? What type of reaction is it? Decomposition. So I'm just going to put a D for decomposition. You're starting with one thing. The only option it has is to break down. So if I have NH3, then I'm going to break down to N2 and H2. So why am I putting a 2 here? I want to make this note that when you have, nitrogen is a gas, hydrogen is a gas. So non-metal gases, they are diatomic. That means that when they exist by themselves, they're always partnered with another atom. So oxygen is always O2, iodine is going to be I2, right? So all of the non-metal gases will always be diatomic. So you always start by putting them with 2. That's before you balance. Okay, so now we balance it out. So we have 2 nitrogens, so we have to make sure we have 2 here. Let me make sure that's right. But I also have 2 hydrogens already. So we'll put 2 nitrogen for that side. Now I have 6, so I just put a 3 here. So I have 6 hydrogen, 2 nitrogen, 2 nitrogen. Okay? All right. Last one should be the easiest to identify. Why? Oxygen is there. So if I have an oxygen, automatically your brain needs to say combustion. So this is combustion, okay? The products are always the same for combustion. That's why this is the easiest one, I think. Okay, so combustion will always end up with carbon dioxide and water. I don't even have to look at it, okay? So I'll always end up with carbon dioxide and water, and all I need to do is now balance it to make sure that I have the right amount, okay? So this actually ends up being, just because it's a little longer, I already did it out, so I'm just gonna write it down. And 10. Okay? So those are the 5 types of reactions, all right? Step 1, once again, is identify the type of reaction. Step 2 is predict the products, because you know what each reaction will do. And then step 3, you're not finished until you balance your equation. Okay.